Okay, hey, round two. Getting that exhale out of the way. Well, this is round two in two different ways. One, I accidentally unplugged my microphone during the intro part of the last take. But this is Devil's Advocate. Hey, guys. This is episode 7. I'll put a clever title here. I just can't think of anything right now. Right here, episode 7. Thanks for watching. You guys know the deal. It's Devil's Advocate. I'm going to argue with myself on random stuff and some of the stuff that you guys have suggested. Quick disclaimer, though. Quick warning. If your name is Kendra or Jody, skip to like the back half of this video because I do want to touch very briefly, in the most professional way possible, a little bit about sexting. Like just a smidge, just a little touch. Because here's the deal. The people need to know that I'm not afraid to talk about the hard issues, you know, the big hitting topics. But so you're still welcome to watch, I guess, mom and or step mother-in-law. But don't be weird about it, you know? I'm just trying to have a goof. I'm just trying to make it fun. So if you watch this and you bring it up next time I see you, I will stop what I'm doing or eating and leave. It's all a big joke. I don't need anything that I'm about to say on an ironic Christmas present. Please. You don't have to do that. All right. So I will mention quick two things again. This episode it's pretty late for two reasons. One, and this is most importantly, I did film this episode earlier, but the episode just wasn't that fun. You know, I made a few good points, and I had a couple of funnies overall, but I think it got too serious at some points, and it wasn't a jovial good time, and that's kind of the goal here for the people who watch. I just want to have fun, and I want it to be fun. Not for everyone, I guess, you know, but I didn't really enjoy it. So we're going to try and do this take 2. And if this one sucks, fuck it. This one's coming out come hell or high water. If it sucks, oh well. But I've got to give another take. And the second one was I was celebrating a Romanian holiday. You know, last week we had a holiday, and it's where we celebrate the a Romanian's natural proclivity to immunity. You know, we talk about our great immune systems, and it comes from the old Romanian word of death, and it's called bragamushka. You know, actually, though, true story, though, Romanians did have a consistent genetic defect that they had an abnormal high survival rate during the Black Plague, which is why I think everyone hates us. I could be wrong, but whatever. No, so, yeah, and the celebrations are really fun. We celebrate by coughing directly into the mouths of other European nationalities with worse immune systems. Here's a little sound clip from the fest. Hello, where are you from? I'm from France. Cool. Okay, and today's sponsor is Logitech. Logitech is a computer accessory company created in 1845 by the Loggia family. They created a technical warehouse because the guy wanted a mouse that would go click, click, and keyboards that would go click, click, and headphones that could drown out the sound of his wife and kids fighting behind him. So after millions and millions of dollars of research and development and a violent divorce, Logitech now has the full suite of the LG series of mice. I personally use the LG 500. Thank you, Logitech, for this sponsorship. I appreciate it. Okay, and stand-up dates. I think I have at least one. I think I have one in October, but I'm not going to put that now. Here it is. Yeah, this segment is going to constantly get less sad as the world continues to open up. Last week I had a show. It was a lot of fun. There was maybe like 10, 12 people, but they were into everything. So you should definitely come to one in the future. The longer you wait, the better it'll be. Still shaking off a lot of rust, trying to get a semblance of my former confidence and competency, but we're getting there. It'll be fun. So let's get right to it. Now, again, this first topic was the main reason I'm re-recording it because I talked about sexting for like 20 minutes, and this time I'm going to try and talk about it for like 5 minutes, and just try and keep it brief and bring all the funnies from the last one. If you do want to hear that entire segment, You can Venmo me $4.20, and I'll send you that unedited clip for blackmail or your entertainment. I thought it was all right, but it can be better. So anyway, let's talk about sexting a little bit. Now, before we get into it, I want you to the viewing audience to know I was not a sexter. I never. It might sound selfish, I was always for it. I'm like, hell yeah, send them my way, baby. But I very rarely, if ever, sent any, and it was never the whole schmutz and caboodle. It was always my my MO for sexting was like the implied arousal. So I would never send a picture of myself naked, but like I would do something. Like one time I hung a cowboy hat on my business because I thought that would be like funny and clever, and and then you get past the like, and you know what I thought about? I thought about this too. It's like, I think that is worse blackmail than just having a picture of my junk, right? Like, because if you have a picture of my business and you spread it around, you're the bad guy, right? You're a terrible person. You shouldn't do that. And we'll talk about that as one of the most obvious downsides or risks of sexting is. So if someone does that, they're a horrible, terrible person. But if you wear a cowboy hat over it, now it's just funny. And so you get all the shame and embarrassment, but you don't have any of the repercussions and you're still the bad guy. So I don't know. Anyway, that's what I used to, that was my go-to is find a, not an accessory. Then I kind of sound like the guy from Jackass who always wears things. But that the implied arousal was my sexting MO for like the 2 times I did it. But anyway, one of the things I was going to say earlier, and this is kind of an aside, but and this is going to be an argument that I know people have had, so I'm giving fuel to the youth of America, if you will. And this kind of really only pertains to like kind of under 18, because here's the deal: when you're first getting your first phone, usually your parents giving you to it, they're paying the bill, whatever. And I remember my dad gave me my first phone. It was a lot like if he gives you like car keys or something. He's just like, hey, before I give you this, there's a lot of responsibility here. Don't do anything stupid. And then on the caveat, he said, just want you to know that because it's my bill, like any data or all those fees that like, or whatever it would be, I can see those. So essentially what he was trying to not threaten per se was, hey, don't send anything sketchballs or don't download anything sketchballs because I'll be able to see it. And at the time that terrified me, right? I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That was a pretty logical point he made against to try and deter me from sexting, and I didn't think anything of it, right? I was a loser. No one was sexting me anyways. The only people I texted was my dad after a soccer meet to come pick me up in the parking lot, and my buddy Josh to see if he wanted to play Call of Duty or something. So I never sexted, right? But like I that was a pretty competent deterrent for me for a long time, because and then I kind of thought like, oh, maybe I just have to disguise the titles, instead of sending like dick pic 88.4.jpg, I'd have to like rename it to like Jack's favorite drawing 103.jpg, because my dad wouldn't look at that shit. He'd be like, I don't care. But it's just like, the more I thought about this, the more I realized if I had this argument, which I will now give to you guys, the better I would have been. Because here's the deal. What he's threatening is, hey, you can't, don't get anything, because I could see it, right? And so the idea is there. But here's the thing. Let's say it doesn't work and that doesn't deter me and I continue to sext as planned. One of 2 things is going to happen. He's going to get, sexytime.jpg on his U.S. Cellular bill. And if he one more aside quick. I don't actually think that's how it works. I think you can see so I'm pretty sure it was a bluff, but like I don't think you can actually see the pictures. Like you can see on your bill, like, oh, I had a 50 kilobyte image. That's why I went over or whatever. Like, why was my bill $3,800? Oh, because there was 5 gigabytes of sexy time videos exchanged, right? But I don't think you can actually see those, just the data. So I think from the start, there's already a thing. And he meant well, right? This is just me debunking his argument now that I've had my entire life to think about it. If he decides, and if he's right, and you can see these pictures, one of 2 things happens. He's going to open a JPEG image of my business, which is not illegal, I don't think. Super fucking weird. You don't need to see that. You don't want that. Okay, that's not for you. You have no business. If you're a doctor and I'm like, hey, look at these. If your dad's a doctor, you're like, I have 19 moles on my business, then sure, take a look. Even then, probably go to a doctor, have them look. Or the option 2 is you're going to see the person that was sending them to me, or your kid or whatever. Again, gender not specific, right? If you intercept that and you look at it as your 32 to 28-year-old self as a dad, you're going to jail. You're going straight to jail, buddy. It's like, it's a lose-lose. And I wish I had that argument. I wish I'd have thought about that when I was a kid. Because there's no way. Oh, and also back to the point about why if you're going to sex, just do it. Don't try and be coy about it. Don't like put it under a sheet or something, or like I said, the implied stuff. Because if it is just straight nudity or whatever, it's not illegal to send it to someone, but it is uber illegal to distribute it. Okay, in every direction, in any way you look at it, you're going to jail. But if it's covered up or it's subtle, then there's nothing wrong with it, and you'll embarrass yourself forever, and you'll have no legal claim to do anything about it. So if you're gonna sex, just do it. Don't be cute. Don't be coy. Just acknowledge it. You're having a little hormonal fun, if you will. Yeah, I can't even remember what I was gonna say overall. But all right, let's just do the pros and cons quick. Pros, I think it can obviously be fun, and it's it has its purposes, I guess, and there's something for that. That the pros I think are pretty obvious. You get to see the business of someone because here's the deal. Back then, I guess it kind of made more sense because nobody had like any access to porn or anything, right? But nowadays, like if you're so horned up and you're just like, I gotta see him, I gotta have him. Just go on Google, man. Like, found him. Cool. Now I don't have to be a weird, freaky sociopath, right? But back then, and then I think there's a little bit of fun, like there's kind of a little game to be had about it. But anyway, I don't want to talk about it. I've already spent too much time on this. Pros, it's fun. It's cool. I think it can be, it's kind of a trust thing too. I think a lot of people only look at the negative side of that trust aspect where they're like, oh, how can you, well, what's if they send it out? What's if they distribute it to everyone? Okay. Yeah, I guess they could. And it's trustful in the same way that I think like bondage stuff is. Like I feel like people always look at it in like the horrible. This is in no way me admitting to doing bondage. Please don't read it that way. But it's just like people always feel like, oh my God, you must be a submissive loser. But no, it shows a great amount of trust. So I actually think sexting someone shows a really deep level of trust or absolute horror, sadness, and desperation. But so obviously, yeah, the negatives are there is a bit of blackmail in the event that you were to send it to a ne'er-do-well or someone who wants to do you harm, or you have a shitty breakup and now someone has a picture of your business out there. You got to walk that. But also to argue that point, the only cost of your nudes kind of being released are a bit of embarrassment, a bit of awkwardness. There really isn't much past that, especially for 99.999% of the world, where it'll be a funny at like one fire barbecue or whatever, but then no one's going to give a shit. Like people who care about you or just who matter in general or who aren't children or just total douchebags, like, I thought about this earlier. It's like I never had anything like that in my school. And again, I wasn't cool, so I wasn't in any fun loops of people sending blackmail pictures around. But it's just like, I don't know if I ever heard of, you always hear the ghost story, like the horror stories of like, Sarah sent a picture of her breasts to someone, and now the entire school knows what her areolas look like. But like, I'm sure it's happened, but I don't think that's happened too much. And I think even in that situation, yeah, it's awkward. And it's kind of embarrassing, but that's kind of it. Like if you don't really give a shit about, like if you're confident enough or you don't really care, that's it. So the negative isn't as cataclysmic as I think it likes to be painted as. I'm in no way saying I would love if everyone I knew had a picture or have seen a picture of my wiener. But if they did, whatever. Guess you move on. But that's just me. Anyway, I don't think I actually approached that at all. I just told a funny story that I wanted to tell about how my dad tried to deter me from sexting and how I just checkmated his argument. But now you guys have that, so hopefully, you can give this to your child or send it to your nephew and be like, hey, man, watch this. This is how you get away from that. Okay, anyway, next topic. Are dentists really doctors? Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think it's fine. You go to school for a long time, and you put in your time. It's just a really specific doctor that has its... I think why people get pissed off about them is they're not in a hospital. Like a foot doctor is equally as specialized, but you still give them... You don't ostracize their PhD. I think it's like one of those self-fulfilling things where dentists are so used to getting shit but for not being called doctors that they like have their own buildings and their own establishments, which like makes it worse. Like, just go to a hospital. I think people bust their ass because they're not in a hospital. You know where doctors are? In a hospital. You know where plumbers are? In the bathroom. If a plumber was doing his work in... I don't know, that's a fucking horrible analogy. I give up on it. But the obvious answer is yes, they are. Anyway, let's talk about ziplining. Ziplining is weird. Ziplining is one of those things that you have to do one time, and after that, you can never zipline again. Ziplining, it's trash. It's so boring. Okay, I think it's one of the most odd things that are sensationalized. And here's how you know it's shitty. It's everywhere. Okay, what are the best things in life other than like maybe prostitution and alcohol? There's not a Disney World in every city. Because it's special, it's cool, it's exciting. As much as these ziplining places like to say, ziplining over a canopy in Wisconsin and ziplining over a canopy in Minnesota are the exact same. All you do is get a wedgie and pay too much for someone to... Here's the deal. If I had an escalator, maybe it'd be more fun. But you have to zipline to get 5 seconds of breathing time because you just ascended 80 floors of rickety-ass steps. I'm not being objective at all. Okay, so the fun parts about ziplining, you do get... I think ziplining is one of like the most vanilla, like dangerous things you can do. Like if you're a really boring, stick in the mud kind of person who doesn't do anything but watch documentaries and like they don't invest in anything that has more than 2% degree of risk, they think that they'll retire off their savings account interest. Like really boring, stale people who are apprehensive about going to a monster truck rally at the counter fair because they're afraid of the people that it might bring. Like boring, shitty people. Ziplining is like the highest their tolerance will allow them, because they're like, they'll tell people and try to explain it like they just went skydiving into D-Day while on fire. But it's like, no, dude, you got harnessed up way overkill, and then you were down a thing, and they say you got to pull, but if you didn't pull and you went as fast as you fucking could, you'd stop yourself. Like, if you didn't pull and you hit that end and it stops you and it, like, killed you, then that'd be badass, and there'd be a little bit of metalness. So, like, it has an overinflated sense of excitement. You're not that high. You're usually above canopies. Sometimes you can be pretty high up, but, like, the thing is, it's the same. The experience is the same. It would be like, it's like if every roller coaster had the exact same loops, the exact same spins, and the only thing that changed was the color, and some branding. Like, and also here's another way ziplining is shitty. Ziplining is always packaged into another event. Okay, that's a great. If an event is not good enough to be its own thing, it kind of sucks. Okay, now. Because how many times have you seen John's ziplining, four-wheel, spelunking, scuba diving adventure? Right? Almost all the time, everywhere you go. So then there's, but like with things that are actually fun and exciting and entertaining, you don't have that. When was the last time you saw a skydiving venture that once you got done, you went dune buggy racing? You never, because skydiving is fucking cool enough as it is. It doesn't need to be packaged in to trick people into doing it, right? If you do a multi-step exploration, and one of the things is ziplining, the ziplining is the worst part, I promise. Going on a four-wheeler 5 miles per hour in a line down a paved road is with a helmet on and classic rock playing is more fun than ziplining. Ziplining is fun one time. if you have not gone ziplining, go ziplining once. And then don't ever go again. You don't need to. It's not that interesting. So, real objectively, pros, it is a very stale, not stale, that's still condescending. It can be entertaining, okay? It is kind of everywhere. So, like, if that is your thing, like if you're just rock hard about ziplining, there's going to be a place for you to zipline almost anywhere you go. So that's cool. I think it's pretty accessible. I don't know, depending on where you are and how branded or gimmicky it is. I don't think it's like bonkers expensive. Maybe like $40 to $60 a person, which, you know, it's a lot, but that's like half a round of mini golf. So, yeah, the cons, it's extremely similar. There's very little variation. Sometimes you'll get some place that will allow you to do something cool, like hang upside down or do like a Superman. We did one in Mexico where they let you sit in a hammock, which 0% that was safe. But so some places will who know that ziplining is boring will try and do something to spice it up. But if you have bad knees, if you're not athletic, it seems so fun. Everyone's like flying, but you know how you have to fly? You have to walk up 16 flights of stairs. So if you got bad knees, if you're not athletic, if you hate the sun, if your hair gets screwed up by shitty plastic helmets, not for you. Yeah, I think maybe if you weigh like an absorbent amount and you're going to hang too low and slap your shins against the canopies of the rainforest, again, maybe not for you, but it's kind of boring. I don't like it, but it's not to say you can't. This topic comes from the YouTube comment. And this one was another one that I talked about last time where I almost had no jokes because I'm so passionate about it, but we're going to talk about sea shanties a little bit. Sea shanties are super cool. If you don't know what a sea shanty is, depending on how far back you go and depending on how liberal your definition of what a sea shanty is, because nowadays it kind of blends into like folk music. So if you've never heard of sea shanty, imagine like very folky country. Some of it has almost no instruments, but the cool thing is when it does have an instrument, it's usually really specific kind of fun instruments. There's like, you know, the banjo, the violin, mandolin, bagpipe, accordion. There's this one weird thing that it's on Sea of Thieves too. I can't remember what it is, but it's got like a giant crank. It's like or whatever. I'll find a picture of it and put it around here. So that's super cool. So it has a bunch of fun instruments, but the main thing is it's like the most specific country you can imagine. Like it'd be like if there was a subsect of country music exclusively for concrete workers, and all they sang about was pouring concrete and like cutting your fingers on rebar. Like so, way back in the day, sea shanties used to just be a way for maritime crews to keep cadence when doing different deckhand chores. You know, turning the capstone or raising sails and stuff, because you know, that stuff's super important. You can't usually, you know, sometimes you can't communicate. And the thing would be everyone would sing it and you'd get to, because if you ever played tug of war, right? If everyone's just tugging wildly, you know, like they're playing a money game or something, just or whatever, you're going to lose. If you play against a team where it's like 1, 2, 3, hoof, like if you do that, you'll win every tug of war. You can be against an Olympic rowing team and you and your scrawny 8 friends, you know, if you guys coordinate your efforts, you have a fair chance, assuming that the other team isn't doing that, I guess. But that's the big thing. Just do that. So they used to have their songs would be very cadenced. You know, like Patty Lay Back. What's the not Patty? I'm trying to think of Blow the Man Down, which actually a lot of people would probably know that one because the SpongeBob SquarePants theme, it's cadence like "Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?" That is directly the cadence of Blow the Man Down, so that's kind of a fun one. But again, the idea is that they're fun maritime ones. So originally they had a very practical use, and then they kind of just became more associated with like the camaraderie of that group of people, you know, and so you'd start singing about, you know, the bar, wenches, living, dying, having a happy life or whatever. So it's like fun country in a way, and what I'll say this is I don't think I've ever felt such a sense of like kinship with random people who aren't actually your family as like singing a sea shanty. It's such a fun kind of like bonding experience. So if you need a sea shanty playlist, I'm gonna forget to link mine down here. But sea shanties are the shit. You should really be into them. So yeah, they're fun. They're really easy to learn, and even though they're kind of old school, if you and like 8 people bust that out at a party, one of you is getting kissed on the cheek, maybe, but like, that's pretty good. No, sea shanties are a hoot. They're super fun. Because here's the deal: if 10 people break into fishing in the dark at a party, I'm gonna leave, and on my way out, I'm gonna light the house on fire. Okay, 10 people singing "Fishing in the Dark" is the worst place on earth. But if 10 people start singing Barrett's Privateers or Patty Lay Back or even The Mermaid or something, it's fun. It's intoxicating because sea shanties aren't about being a good singer. It's about the passion of it. And so it's kind of fun that it's almost like, I mean, obviously you're not intentionally trying to be shitty, but it feels more genuine. Anyone can do it. And like I was going to say earlier too, almost all of them are extremely repetitive chorus-wise, and they have a very similar, some of them are like leader, repeat kind of a cadence. So assuming your ears work, you can join in the fun. So can't condone it enough. Yeah, I could get you into it. Downsides, I think the big thing, one of the biggest adds of it, one of the biggest benefits of sea shanties is that camaraderie. You feel like singing it in a group is super fun. Now, you can still enjoy it, but if you don't like groups, if you really, and I don't say you have to drink, but a lot of the times it's pretty heavily involved. But like, you don't have to, if you don't like loud singing, if you have like really sensitive ears, or, just maybe you're extremely introverted and like big groups kind of repulse you, it's probably not going to be for you. You can still enjoy them, but I think where they shine is their ability to be free, or whatever, and kind of sing that. So if you don't like that, if you don't really like drinking culture, if you will, I don't know if that's the right word, but, if groups of people being drunk and merry is annoying, which it definitely can be at times, you're going to get a little bit of that. And I think the other biggest issue is sea shanty bands are almost all one of these 3 things. They're almost all dead, like the old, like all your greats, like your traditional wave of sea shanty. Like, so obviously there's the way back, like genuine ones, but then there's like a resurgence, I think in like the 60s to like 90s, that's when all like your Dublineers, Clancy Brothers, Stan Rogers, all those guys. And now you have the more contemporary ones, which are borderline just kind of Irish punk. But anyway, the point is, a lot of the bands are dead. A lot of the bands do not travel or have broken up, or they very rarely leave Ireland. And they're not all Irish, but like that's kind of like the hub, if you will, of what I think you probably could most recently categorize it as like a kind of form of Irish folk. So it's really hard to see them live, So if you're one of those people who, when you get a band, you get really invested into them and you start to get the itch to go see them live. I've lived in Wisconsin, and I've been, balls deep in love with sea shanties for maybe like 7 years. And I think one band that I've really enjoyed has came to Wisconsin once in like that 7 years. So, if you live into a bigger city, or a city that might have like a big folk scene or like a folk festival, you might get lucky. But it's worth noting that if seeing a band live is really a catalyst for you diving into it, that might be a concern, I guess. What is it? What's the time at? You know what? I think that's going to be good enough. I have some other ones that I was going to talk about. Maybe I'll save them for next week. I'm going to play a sea shanty on the credits, which are going to start right now. And, so I'm going to get copyright claim, but that's okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the delay if you were waiting for it, a couple of you. Hey, I'm getting a couple subscribers each week, so, if you're liking it, if you're watching it or sharing it, I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I'll try and do it a little more consistently. I might have to go to every other week, realistically, just with comedy coming back up, and I put in so much time and effort into that, so... but I still like doing the podcast. I still enjoy doing it, so it's not going anywhere. If you had fun, share it, and if you want to hear me talk about something, leave it in the comments, and if it doesn't suck, I will probably bring it up. Thanks for watching. See ya.
My very first day at sea, I seen the mermaid in the waves, are reaching out to me. Come and live with me in the sea, said she, down on the ocean floor, and I'll show you a million wondrous things you've never seen before. So over I jumped and she pulled me down to her seaweed bed, and a pillow made of a tortoise shell she placed beneath my head. She fed me shrimp and caviar upon the silver dish. From her head to her waist it was just my taste, but the rest of her was a fish. 'Cause her hair was green as seaweed, her skin was blue and pale, her face it was a work of art. I love that girl with all my heart. I only liked the upper part, I did not like the tail. She swam away, so I sang to the clams and the whales. Oh, how I miss her seaweed hair and the silver shine of her scales. But then her sister, she swam by, set my heart a whirl. 'Cause her upper part was an ugly fish, but her bottom part was a girl. Yes, her hair is green as seaweed, her skin is blue and pale, her legs, they are a work of art. I love that girl with all my heart, and I don't give a damn about the upper part, 'cause that's how I get my tail. Come here, mate, darling. Show me your fillets.